Sylvia?
Yeah, hi.
Okay.
As this item is not on the agenda, I did want to raise directly with the chief some concerns that have been brought to my attention by Kensington residents. And I will just read part of some emails that I have received and allow the chief to comment on this. I think there was a real appreciation for your tackling of the use of force issue, and we look forward to seeing the the complete review of the policy manual. But there have been, over the years, certainly Kensington has suffered from a reputation of let's just say, potentially unequal treatment of minority groups as they drive through town or are through town. And some of that is a result of residents who may find the presence of certain people in town unusual for some reason, not that I'm saying it's valid, and call in suspicion. Sometimes it's not about that. And the person who wrote to me said, the use of force, and I would like to see if we get a use of force report. As I understand, we're required to have one every year. That's something I think you said you would work on. But the use of force complaints are not things that most residents have heard about, just not on their radar. But this particular resident wrote that, what she does know is that over time, the KPD has repeatedly detained and questioned people of color for no reason other than a resident's call. We could speculate for days about the motivations behind these calls, but the important point is that people do call the police when they see folks, as she says, just being Black in Kensington. It happens, and we need to have a plan for managing it. In particular cases that she personally recalled, two male relatives of a Black Kensington Hilltop student, uncles she thought were visiting from out of town and were detained and questioned by the KPD, by the library. They were attempting to walk up to school to meet the kids and walk them home. The second case that she recalled was a Black El Cerrito High School student who came to a speech and debate practice here in Kensington on a Sunday afternoon and was stopped and questioned by the KPD while skateboarding down the street on his way home. I can say that I have personal knowledge of a case, and again, these are my instances years old under Chief Harmon, where a African-American employee of a business here was stopped multiple times, even after it was clear who he was and where he was going and that he worked here. And then another time as he was helping a coworker who was a Hispanic female changing a tire, they were harassed to the point that the business owner finally walked into the chief's office and asked it to stop. And, for people of color, we know, if we didn't before, we certainly know that being stopped and questioned by police is at best humiliating and at worst terrifying. I would like to see Kensington Police discuss this publicly and pledge to do better. For example, what could be done if a resident calls and there's no other suspicious behavior other than their ethnicity or skin color? And I think that, an explicit statement or policy would be good to understand how that's going to be dealt with. And I'm particularly interested also on the issue of, a resident calls and the dispatch, will have to ask certain questions as to what kind of suspicious behavior they're reporting. But then what does the police do in that interaction? Is it their responsibility to make contact with that person, or do they make contact with the resident to understand better what's going on in the case where it may not be so clear cut? So I'd like to raise this because it's obviously an issue of the day. It is not, it's things that have been discussed probably somewhat quietly in Kensington, if not loudly, but they are being raised to me very strongly. I want to give the chief a chance to speak to that.